Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching Boom, the Political Vigilante. We are making Gotham great again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to everybody that came out to all my live shows. The 3 I did in Europe with Lee Camp, Government Secrets, and the shows that I did in New York City, Madison, Waterford, Michigan, Cincinnati, and, of course, the special taping at Zany's in Chicago. They were all amazing. The special came out great. It's all finished. I've just been shopping it around. Some people are already interested, so that'll hopefully be out by January. So thank you to everybody that came out. It was just fantastic. It was so cool, and I really appreciate everybody supporting what I did and helping me. Without an audience, I can't work on my set and work on my material. So you guys coming out made it awesome. That's why this is the People's Channel, folks. This is the People's Channel. One of the things I've been talking about even before the pandemic on this show is the housing bubble, because I went through it. I lost, some of you know the story, some of you don't. I lost my house to foreclosure in 2010, and I was a victim of, you know, basically these, you know, banking companies and real estate. Like it was pretty awful what I went through. I've told the story numerous times. You can look back and watch it on the channel. So I really have been trying to, you know, prepare you folks that watch me on a regular basis to be ready for another housing bubble. And there was a housing bubble before COVID. Now it got worse, which is why 2 years ago, when the shutdown first happened, I got more educated about Bitcoin, and I've invested in some Bitcoin and some other altcoins, Ethereum and some other altcoins, because I want to be prepared for when the markets crash, because we're already in a recession. We're already in one. And so it's not the people talking about it now. I'm going to show you 3 different sources. One of them is CNN. One of them is Peter Schiff. So it's not just like outliers like Zero Hedge or this show or whatever. It's like people that are tracking, who are financial reporters, that people who follow in the mainstream corporate media, who follow, and they're saying this is happening. So, you know, we had Christy I on this show, you know, several times. And I remember in the summer of 2020, she was talking about this. And so I just want to show you, this is what they're saying now. So could this housing market crash be worse than 2008? That just came out November 4th. Okay. So there's that. I just put in a housing crash. I just typed that into a search engine, and a bunch of stories came up that have just been released in the last day or two. This is Peter Schiff. The real estate bubble is losing air and financial crisis is coming. Now, there's certain things I don't know that I necessarily agree with everything on Peter Schiff about, but he is someone that is pretty well versed and pretty knowledgeable about the financial markets. And no, look, nobody has a crystal ball, but again, I talked numerous times before the pandemic on this show about the housing bubble. I showed you there was a car loan bubble. There's a student loan bubble. We've talked about all this stuff. And what COVID did was the single greatest upwards transference of wealth. And not a lot of people were putting homes on the market, so the real estate has gone up. It's starting to come down a little, but still, this is what was in the Peter Schiff article. This is on his website. A 30-year fixed rate mortgage is now above 7% because the Fed just hiked the interest rates again, which some people are like, that's a bad idea. That means that even if you pay a little less, your financing cost is much higher. On top of that, you have higher insurance prices, higher property taxes, and higher maintenance costs. Right? The stock market already started taking a beat. If the markets crash and the dollar is starting to drop a little bit, and there's mass layoffs, which I've already shown you on this program a couple months ago, they're starting to happen. I mean, Elon Musk just took over Twitter and he's laid off 7,500 people. So despite the Biden administration saying, oh, we're not in a recession, we're in a recession. I've shown you how we're in a recession, right? We've had, you know, 2 quarters of GDP slowdown. We have almost double-digit inflation. I mean, real inflation is probably 20%. What the government says, oh, it's 8% or whatever. So we're in it. We're in it. And when people can't afford to pay their bills and they can't afford all of these costs that Peter Schiff is talking about, then there's going to be mass homes going on the market, which will drop the prices down. There'll be people that are mass foreclosures and short sales. That's really bad news. That's what happened in 08. Now, this is from CNN. America's housing dream is broken. Again, this was November 3rd. This is CNN Business. Okay. So she's talking about the housing market is broken, and she talks about some of the problems with it, but it definitely talks about how we're facing a crash or a bubble bursting, because there's just too much stuff involved here. On Thursday, a new report showed that first-time buyers made up just 26% of all home buyers in the year ending in June. I've talked a lot about this on the show. People are like, oh, these millennials, they can't afford to buy a house. And the mentality 10 years ago, well, the millennials are just lazy. They just spend all their money on avocado toast, and that's why. No, millennials can't afford it. Millennials and Gen Z can't afford it. Also in this study, the age of first-time buyers has gone up from 33 to 36. That's not a good thing. That means people are having to work longer and save money longer to get a deposit down, a down payment, not a deposit, but you want to put at least 10 to 20% down on a house. If you're less than 20% on a down payment on a house, you have to pay mortgage insurance, PMI, right? So you're saving up 20%. When I bought my first house in late 99, I paid $200,000 for the house. And I think I put 10% down. So I had 20 grand. Okay. And I financed 180. So I'm going to show you in a second what the median price is in America. So this first-time buyers made up just 26%. This is an all-time low over the 4 decades that the National Association of Realtors has been conducting its survey. That's not good news. That's not good news. Part of what made America have a thriving middle class was you could have a decent job and you could buy a house. Buying a home was the easiest and best way for Americans to increase their wealth and to increase intergenerational wealth, meaning when somebody passes away, they leave behind a home and money for their kids. But this is bad. If this is a 4 decades low of first-time buyers, that means there's not a whole new generation of young people buying homes. You buy a home, it appreciates in value. You maybe sell it and get into a bigger home that appreciates in value. That's how you appreciate wealth. That's the simplest way to do it. You get a decent job, but the jobs aren't there. The cost of living is through the roof. As Peter Schiff just pointed out, even if you do own a home, what in the Peter Schiff article, he talks about more the rising costs. And let's just show that to you again. So this is from the Peter Schiff article. You have the higher insurance prices, higher property taxes, and higher maintenance. What he goes on to explain is then when homes do go up for sale or short sale or foreclosure or whatever, when people just can't afford it anymore, and they just have to get rid of it, the homes are in disrepair. So the value of the home isn't as good because it's not in good condition because people can't afford. That's part of owning a home. You have to put, but the popular thinking was always, sure, you have to fix everything yourself when you own a home, or pay to get it fixed rather. But when I owned a home, I was like, well, anything I fix, I'm increasing the value of it. So I remember I had this, when I bought the place, the first little house in the San Fernando Valley, it had this crappy old carpet on it. Underneath it were hardwood floors. So I pulled up the carpet and me and a buddy finished it. And all of a sudden I had nice hardwood floors. Now that cost me a little bit of money, but it increased the value. I remember I had to redo my roof. All right. That cost me money. I had to put in a new furnace, but all that stuff was like in the long run, this is going to increase the value of my home, because when I went to sell it, I could say new roof, hardwood floors. It wasn't insulated. People don't really insulate their homes in Southern California the way they do, like where I used to live in Chicago and Wisconsin in the Midwest. You have to insulate your homes where it's cold in the north, but Californians don't have to. So I was like, new insulation, new roof, new furnace, I repiped the house. I did all of that stuff. And so when I sold my home, I sold it for $380. I bought it for $200 and sold it for $380. Now the California real estate market was kind of going nuts. And so in a short amount of time, in about 3-4 years, I increased from 200 to 380. I made $180,000 profit. That's big. That's how I was able to then buy and move into a newer, a nicer neighborhood by the beach in Santa Monica. And I got this nice condo, which is the one I ended up losing, thanks to Bush and Obama and a corrupt banking system. But I'm just telling you, what Peter Schiff is talking about is if people can't afford that now, like if I bought a home now, that house that I sold in 2003 for $380 is probably going for $700,000 or $800,000 now, or more. And with inflation going up, I couldn't afford to fix it. If I needed to fix something up or wanted to fix it up to sell it. Let's say I wanted to redo the kitchen, because when you put in a new kitchen, that always helps sell a home traditionally, kitchens and bathrooms, right? I couldn't afford to do it now. So that's what he's saying. Let's go back to the CNN article. So as I just said, now this is first-time buyers, just 26% of home buyers. And I've shown you, look, I told you what happened after 2008. These rental companies bought up all of the short sales and the foreclosures, and they've been doing it again because of COVID. And they usually use stimulus money that is given to them by our two utterly corrupt political parties, right? Watch the documentary Inside Job. For those of you who think, oh, this party's better than that party. No, Goldman Sachs has been in every presidential cabinet since Reagan. That should tell you. So I've been warning folks that and when the CARES Act first hit 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, I was like, uh-oh, they're going to do it again. They're probably trying to manipulate a big recession and crash because they want, another 6 million people to, because here's what happened in 2008. There was 6 million foreclosures. A lot of those homes got bought up by management companies. And that's one of the reasons why the rents across America are so high. Do you see this? Do you follow what I'm talking about? So it's starting again. So now with the interest rates going up, as Peter Schiff pointed out, interest rates are now at 7%. A year or so ago, you could get interest, a home loan for 3%, 4%. That's a pretty good deal. Now 7%, now your monthly payment goes up. Because we're just talking about regular average Americans who need a mortgage payment, the taxes, the mortgage payment, the insurance, the interest, all of that needs to add up to a number that family can afford. So let's say you can afford I'll just pick a round number. You can afford a $1,500 mortgage payment. That includes everything. Insurance, everything is $1,500. Well, now with the 7% interest and everything else, now that $1,500 becomes $1,800 or $1,900 or $2,000. Well, now $2,000 is too hard because you're not making that enough a month. And with gas, the price is what they are, and food prices what they are because of inflation. Now nothing becomes, then you can't afford to buy, which is why one of the reasons we have this low number of first-time buyers. Here's the other reason. In addition to mortgage rates going up, home prices shot up, with the median peaking at $413,000. That's the median. That's nationwide. So now, if this is the median price, you want to put 20% down? That's $82,000. What? $7,600? Almost $83,000. Just under $83,000. That's what you have to come up with a down payment, provided you don't want it. Because if you come up with 10%, well, now there's mortgage insurance on top of the 7% home loan you have to get. And let's say you made some mistakes or had some credit trouble. So, well, they might give you the home loan, but oh, your credit's not great. So we're going to add the interest rate is now 7.5 or 8% because your credit wasn't great. Because let's say you had a medical problem and you couldn't pay off all your medical bills. So you got a ding on your credit report. You see how this all adds up to problems? It's bad if the whole younger generation can't afford to buy homes. And if they do buy a home, they're scraping money together to get 400 grand for an average price for a home. They're scraping that together. So even if you get this $82,000 together, right? So you're still talking about, then you got to get a 7% interest on roughly $330 some $1,000. That's a lot. That's a big mortgage payment. And who knows? So whatever that mortgage payment is on top of homeowners insurance, then there's just maintenance. Because again, now you own the home. So if the washer breaks, you got to fix it. If the pipes break, you got to fix it. See, like what Peter Schiff said, even people that are able to buy homes, they can't afford to fix stuff. They can't afford to buy a bunch of new appliances. That's what drives the economy. And and this is the median home. So one of the things you can do as a homeowner, you buy a house and then it appreciates in value. Well, you can take a home equity line of credit. And a lot of people do that. And it's traditionally was a smart move. Like you'd have to go to the bank and you have to have good credit and show you had a job and all this. But they were like, oh, like I was able to do that. I bought my house for $200,000. It had appreciated up to $300,000 or more. I got a home equity line of credit and I was able to use that money to do remodeling because they'll gladly give you a loan traditionally if they know you're going to remodel because they know the remodeling is going to increase the value of the home. So you won't be upside down. But if this is maxed out here and real estate prices are starting to come down a little bit, so then what happens? If the housing bubble comes down like they're all saying is going to come down, 3 different articles I showed you, right? So let's say you buy, let's use this number. These are their numbers. Let's say you put 20% down, right? So you're financing roughly $330,000 at 7% interest. Okay. And let's say when the market's like really crash bad and this loses 30% of its value. So let's say, because that's what happened in 2008, this now $413,000 house loses roughly $120,000. So now it's worth $280, $290. It's worth that'd be $290, roughly $290,000. So now you're upside down because you have a $330,000 mortgage and the value of your home is now $290,000. You're in trouble. So you can't sell that house. You can't leave that house. You can't get a home equity line of credit to fix anything. That's what Peter Schiff was talking about. You don't have the money unless you have a good job or whatever. But then let's say something breaks. Oh, well, you have to put that on a credit card. Right? So now you're racking up even more debt, high interest debt. Or let's say you do have some savings. Well, you got to empty your savings account now. So now the savings is gone. Do you see how this just steamrolls? And this will happen to millions of Americans. And let's say you're upside down now. You got $330,000 in loans and the house is only worth $290,000. And let's say it's a 2-income house. Let's say it's a married couple, 2 people. And one of those people loses their job because we're in a recession. Now what? Then you see those signs, cash for keys. And you just don't want to default on the loan. You don't want to file for bankruptcy because that stays on your credit report for, I forget, either 7 or 10 years. I forget. So they'll come in and they'll pay the difference. and you're gone and you don't own a home now, but a mortgage, basically a management company owns it. And then they start renting it out to the young couple that has kids that can't afford the $80,000 down payment. They can afford the rent. What happened to me and millions of others in 08, after the 08 crash, was they then, IndyMac Bank, One West Bank, bought my loan from IndyMac at roughly 30 to 40%, 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. So now that loan that was upside down, they'll do that again. So One West then bought my mortgage, and they only had to pay 30 to 40% of the cost of the mortgage, of the loan. So now One West Bank owned a loan, and it was less than the value of the home, even though the value of my home had come way down. So One West Bank, that was run by Steve Mnuchin at the time, deliberately forced people like me out, because kicking me out and selling a nice condo at the beach would make them money. Now, I had friends that were in neighborhoods that were upside down. The banks couldn't make money kicking them out, so they restructured their loan using some stimulus money, and they got to stay in their homes. But I was in a nice neighborhood by the beach, and they kicked me out deliberately. I'm just breaking down the numbers for you guys. What do I say in the show? Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. So if you're a homeowner, be ready. Have some money saved up. That's why I said buy Bitcoin. You know, be ready to rent a room out or whatever you got to do, because they are coming. These management companies and these banks are hoping you have to foreclose. They're hoping you have to short sale. They're hoping you're underwater and they can buy your house, because they want to buy up another 5-6 million houses and control the whole country and force everyone to pay high rents. That's what they've been doing since 08. And they're going to do it again. What CNN says, what Peter Schiff says. Type it in yourself. Go to whatever search engine you use and type in housing market, housing crash, and you'll see a bunch of articles that just popped up in the last couple of days. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for supporting what we do. We've been demonetized because, again, even that CNN article that I showed you, that was on CNN Online. Are they going to do that in CNN prime time? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. So I've been saying, prepare yourself. Don't fall into the situation. I made a couple of mistakes when I was a homeowner. I made a couple of mistakes, but then they took advantage. That's what they're hoping. And that's why I started investing in Bitcoin in 2020, 2019 and 2020. Even though it's Bitcoin's low right now, it'll come back up, because I want to be out of their central bank enslavement. They want us working in a crappy job, barely paying our bills, and then in debt up to our eyeballs. And we got to default on our loans, and we got a bankruptcy or short sale. And they want to own everything. They're never going to be happy until they own everything. That's why you come to this show, because I'll tell it to you, because it happened to me and I don't want it to happen to you. That's why this is the People's Channel. That's why you're the smartest, best fans in the world, because you get it. Thanks for watching the show, everybody. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood, and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.